If you want to be free from the day-to-day grind, here are 3 game-changing tools that will help you do it. And I want to talk to you about the tools in your toolbox and the things that I think you need to invest in. Number 1, an SOP machine. Y'all, this doesn't need to be fancy. You don't need to go out and get great big expensive software. This could be something as simple as Google Drive and Google Docs. But what you need to do is build documentation into the lifeblood of your business. I don't care how small you are. You could be a solopreneur, have 1 employee, a half dozen or 100. Everything that anybody does that's repeated, if there's a task, a process, or a project that gets repeated more than 1 time in your business, it gets documented. And what's really cool about the documentation process is it's so easy now. What I like to do, the easiest way to document any process is as somebody's walking through it, you just have them shoot a Loom video. As a matter of fact, this is so important that in most of the organizations I own, I take all of the pressure of documentation off of my employees. You don't want to punish people for identifying a documentation need. Because what ends up happening is, even subconsciously, they start to realize like, gosh, if I bring up the fact that this needs to be documented, they're going to ask me to do it, and no good deed goes unpunished. So what we do instead is, if and when an employee identifies a need for documentation, all they do is shoot a Loom video of themselves going through a process. So, here's what onboarding looks like, here's what account creation looks like. It doesn't matter. They shoot a Loom video, and as they're conducting the work, they're just talking through the process. When they're finished, they're done, which means it takes them no more time than it would have taken them to just do the job. And then they fire that off to somebody whose sole job is to document that process. Now, if you're not big enough for this yet, that's okay. With AI, you can automate a lot of this. Once a video has been created, you can, build a Zap that pushes that into some level of rudimentary documentation, and at least it's there, because now you have the Loom video, you have the transcription, you have the bullet points, and you're good. You have some level of documentation. And as you grow, you'll find that you rely on this probably more than any other tool set in your business. It's why it's number 1 in the tools that I'm offering you. You have to have an SOP machine. You have to have a system for capturing repeated processes, because when you begin to grow, you're going to grow faster than you can afford to on almost every level of analysis. And having these tasks documented, even if the documentation is messy, puts you in a position of being able to keep up without letting the wheels fall off of the vehicle. So build an SOP machine, implement this right now today. It doesn't need to be fancy. Anything is better than nothing. And as soon as you have the opportunity, hire somebody whose sole job it is to document all the repeated processes in your business. Number 2 is an automation mechanism. And this can be anything. My favorite automation tool in the whole wide world is Zapier. And if you haven't played with it, it's worth a day of your time to just dive in and see what's possible, because you can automate quite literally anything. If you don't like Zapier, choose another tool. Zapier, Make, High Level, HubSpot, anything that allows for if this, then that, except when, decision tree built automation. And what's nice about automation is it puts you in a position of thinking from a process perspective. As a business owner, one of the most important skill sets for you to develop is a process mind. Because when you build a process mind, you actually put yourself in a position of being able to identify what does and what does not scale. And keep in mind, I don't like the word scale. I think it's massively misused. I've got a video on why I think scale is actually death to a business. You can go watch that if you want to. And yet, scale becomes important to identify because scale shows where you are and are not commoditized. I think what's really important for growth is identifying what scales and automating it, and identifying what doesn't scale and investing in it. And when you know automation, and you've developed a process mind, it puts you in a position to be able to do both. So if you haven't played with an automation tool, start right now today. This is actually, it's one of the few places that I think entrepreneurs should get into the weeds on, because it puts them in a position of not just understanding what can be automated technically speaking, but understanding automation from a paradigm perspective. It trains your mind to think in terms of automation. So go play with High Level, go play with Zapier, and just begin learning the framework of, if this happens, then this happens. And what's really cool is it ends up being magic. There's an element to it that once you really learn how it works, it becomes addicting. Tool number 3 is a great EA. EA stands for executive assistant. And if you think that an executive assistant is somebody that gets you your coffee, you couldn't be more wrong. The endeavor you should pursue with your EA is to more or less clone you. Everything that's on your plate right now should be delegated. If you're a business owner, you shouldn't be on the org chart, right? You don't want to be in the business, you want to be on the business. That's the classic entrepreneurial trope. And in order to do that, you need to start delegating all of your tasks to whoever owns that task on the org chart, whoever the department heads are. But when you're small, no such person exists. And as you grow, you end up being lopsided. More often than not, you're over-engineered on the supply chain front, but you're under-engineered on like HR and finance and operations and those things. And so the EA fills in those roles. And when you have a really good EA, they become the repository for your delegation. Now, here's the key. This is the secret that people don't realize. Your EA is not going to be good at everything. Obviously, because nobody's good at everything. You're not good at everything. So what you want to do is, if you delegate 10 things to your EA, expect them to suck horribly at 2 of them, expect them to do 6 of them passively well, and expecting them to do 2 better than any human has ever done anything in their entire lives. And congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. EA, that just became your full-time job. It's an incubator role. It's the opportunity for you to test somebody across every part and facet of your business and then realize like, oh my goodness, Angelia is amazing at the customer onboarding. I'm going to make her the head of my onboarding as we grow. And oh man, Yvonne's phenomenal at technology. I'm going to make him my CTO as we grow. This is the most important role you ever hire for. And those 3 tools, incidentally, I think are really worth your time and investment in learning: an SOP machine, an automation mechanism, and an executive assistant. And incidentally, I own a staffing agency. So if you don't know where to go for a really good executive assistant, go to paretotalent.com. We'd love to match you with somebody that's not just technically proficient, but also temperamentally matched to you. We use a personality index. You take a test, they take a test, and then we match you with somebody that's, not going to fall apart under whatever pressure you might apply, and vice versa. So would love to help you with that. Appreciate you watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.